Is this a full kids table now? 15 yet? No. 14 today. I was trying. At least it registers. I know. The other day I tried, but the wind was blowing in my face, and I took a little off.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was I don't know any
That's me. No, I know that, and that's why I'm looking here to
No, just conversation.
I don't know. Hey, Sue. Almost there. Mine is dying.
Put it on another chair. How's it going?
I didn't blow your arm.
No. I'm at with your grandpa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming in for tonight's meeting. I believe everybody's in, or is ever seen the activity in the parking lot. If I may, can we start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're first club, there's a couple seats in there. She's there this way.
Sure, I didn't know there was any other one. Yeah, one, two.
Thank you very much. Okay, first item on tonight's agenda is going to be public hearing, introduction of local law number 3, 2024, local law that amends the town of Poestenkill land use law. I respectfully ask that individuals come up, speak from the podium. The comments are directed here to the table, please, and we maintain a civil attitude throughout the whole meeting tonight, but I just ask that civility is deeply appreciated and expected. And we just ask that you state your name and address when you come up to the podium. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing section? Thank you very much, Judy and Frank. First individual who cares to speak, Judy, please. Thank you, Judy.
Sandy?
You're right, I'm wrong. Sandy, I apologize.
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Sandra Schuhart. Me and my husband are creating the proposed senior housing development, 48 units. We're looking for a PDD district to be approved. I just want to mention that my attorney, his mother is in hospice down in the Hudson Valley, and he was called in. He couldn't be here today to speak. So gonna kind of have to put up with me. I'm not a good speaker, but there is a letter he sent to the town board describing everything why he felt that this new law should not be put into place, and that he feels that it is targeting us. And he mentioned, one of the things he did mention is for the PDD district, the town board moved it from them to the planning board, and the planning board felt that it was a necessary project. It was in conformance with the character of the town, and there was no issues as to why it shouldn't move on to the town to be reviewed for a PDD. And one of the questions, I don't want to ramble on forever, but if our project is not approved, what is the town's plan for addressing the imminent need for senior housing? And the senior housing is identified in the comprehensive plan. And if the project does not proceed, where and what areas would be, good for it? And also, you're also looking, if you're going to do a 30 unit, 40 unit, 50 unit, you would need basically 50 acres, 40 acres, 30 acres. And there's not that many projects or pieces of property on public water that are available. So that's one of my things. And I did speak with one of the county legislatures, and the county legislature spoke with one of the town board members. And the answer as to why the project wasn't wanted was it because it would be encroaching and disturbing the wetlands. We had DEC, the Army Corps of Engineers, and an environmental engineer that all came out, and they're encouraging the project. So if it was a detriment to the wetlands, it should have been brought about by any of these county officials. So I'm just, I'm obviously opposed to the local law as it stands. And I know one of the things that can be done by the town is the town can turn around and start the local law from the day it's passed, and previous applicants can be excluded. And that's pretty much my talk for today, and we'll let everybody else speak. Thank you.
Sandy, thank
Yes.
you very much. You're getting straight to this.
Thank you. That's okay.
Next individual, please.
Well,
Jill.
Jill Gressens from Deer Creek Road. I just wondered if you could give a little background information on the local law and why the need for it, or why you feel the need for it at this time, if you don't mind, before I comment.
Excellent.
Can I speak?
Well, the local law has been introduced. The intent of it is on its face, but the board, if it wants to describe why the local law was introduced, certainly within your discretion, so.
The local law was introduced in order to account for buildable, usable property on a subdivision, on a large parcel. Previous situations had allowed, okay, excuse me for not speaking louder. Previous situations, wetlands, unbuildable property was allowed to be included in the determination of when you're doing density configurations, and we did not feel this should be, the wetlands should be taken into account, the percentage of wetland or percentage of steep terrain or other undesirable, unbuildable property should not be allowed to be included in the total area to be determined as buildable for property. And that is the reason why we had a situation come up in the end of 22 into 23, and we felt that there was a weakness in our code, and because of this weakness in our code, we have put this proposal forward. So it's in past history, past direct experience that this law has developed, that this proposed law has developed.
Also, it came down as a result from the planning board suggestion that we look at this, because there was a previous issue that came before them.
If I could continue, my comment was,
Please, Joe.
you
Thank
know,
Joe.
I have no problem when you find problems with the town code and you need to change them or propose changes, that's fine. I just feel that if you enact it, it should be from like this day forward and should not impact those that are already in the process of development projects or applications before the planning board and the town board. I don't think you change the rules mid-game. That's just my feeling on it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next individual, please. Sir, thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't see your raise your hand.
I just have a couple of questions, not concerning the PDD or anything like that, but hypothetical situation, right? My father owns 2 acres in the town, right? And he passes, he leaves 1 acre to me, 1 acre to my brother, right? One of those acres has a fish pond on it. Now, you take the fish pond out of the 1 acre, I can't build on that. I don't think it was thought out in that type of a situation. There are houses on Snake Hill, my neighbor next door, with this in effect, would not be able to build that house. Because they have about 3/4 acre of flat, and it goes down about a 20% grade for 300 feet. That house would not be able to be built. My house, the only reason why it would be able to be built because I have a lot of road frontage. But the flat out there only goes back about 150 feet. After that, everything slopes up. And even with slopes, that's not unbuildable land. Look what they do in California. They put them on stilts.
California's fault in the ocean.
Well, that might happen. I just wonder how well those small individual things for citizens has been thought out. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Mr. Speaker, just a clarification for his particular thing.
Dan, here.
Section 3, right?
Okay, construction of one single-family residential dwelling unit on a single lot existing at the time of the adoption of this local law shall be exempt from the base density calculation requirement.
That is true. But next month, my father dies and gives me 1 acre, and it's got a fish pond on it. It wasn't before the law.
If that was a 2-acre lot.
It was a 2-acre lot, one was
And
subdivided.
no, I'm saying, and then you had to subdivide it, you're absolutely
I
correct.
couldn't build
This
on
would-
that 1 acre.
Depending on, I'm sorry.
I read the exemption, but the exemption is for pre-existing lots. And I understand. No, only on a pre-existing lot.
It's an existing lot. So if you break the lot up and subdivide, you're now creating new lots. So
It says construction of a new single-family residential dwelling unit on a single lot existing at the time of the adoption of the local law. And if it's after that, just because it has a fish pond, and that's a nice thing to have, you can't build that.
What is the zoning requirement in your district?
Well, I'm talking about down here in the flat. And the one's 1 acre,
Is it 1 acre?
1 acre down here. The one I'm talking about up on Snake Hill, it's 2 acres, and they have 2 acres, but they wouldn't have been able to build on it. Because only about 3/4 of an acre is flat. You might have to think it over.
Just out of curiosity, yes, sir. Lady in the back, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Ferguson. I've been a resident of Poestenkill for over 30 years. My place of residence is extremely close to the newly proposed 55-plus senior housing development. I feel this development could only be a positive benefit for this town. If this newly proposed law that the town board gets approved, I request that you not consider the Schuhart development to be included in this. They have labored for over 4 years in getting everything the board has requested of them. They've gotten state requirements, county requirements, and con requirements, not to mention the amount of time and money and effort they have put into this. I thank you very much for your consideration.
Ms. Rubin, thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk. Thank you. Next person, please. Judy, please.
I know, you're all shaking your head, oh no.
No, Judy.
Oh no, he's got paper. I'm Judy Grattan, I live on Snake Hill. I have one of those slopes that could be a problem. In our case, we leveled it 30 or 15%, but it potentially could have been a problem. I just have a couple of things about the language in this particular law. When we're talking about constrained land, you have a whole lot of things in there that you want included. My question is, why did you skip easements? Because if you're talking about things you can't build on, wouldn't you want to include easements in that as well? If you have a sizable easement, it could make a difference. Just something to consider. And then if I could call your attention to section 15061E that talks about the PDD criteria, and it has been rewritten from what was there previously. One of the things that is no longer there was the statement that clustered residential units should be encouraged. Now, I know there was a big push for this when I was on the planning board all those years ago. New York State's making a big push for it. I don't know if it was something that was inadvertently dropped or if it's something you made a conscious decision to leave out, but I just wanted to mention it because I was kind of surprised it wasn't there. But the thing that most concerns me about this rewrite is if you go down and you look at section 5A1, it says that if the site is not served by public water, you want to use the new bulk area schedule. And if it is served by water, you want to use the bulk schedule plus maybe 25% more. Now, why that concerns me is because the paragraph right before it, the section 150-60, where it talks about a PDD and its intent and objections, it reads in part, the planned development procedure provides a flexible land use and design regulation through the use of performance criteria so that developments and innovative development techniques may be accommodated that might not otherwise be possible through strict application of standard zoning, use and bulk requirements. The conventional use, area, bulk, and density specifications set forth in other sections of this chapter are intended to be replaced through this procedure. But if your new procedure says use the chart, and this paragraph says we're not going to use the chart, we're going to have more flexibility, you've got a conflict. So if what you truly want to do is what you're doing in the new law, I would suggest that you go back and rewrite
150-60. But if you're going back to take a look at it, I would suggest you don't limit it to the density you have. Because the PDD is intended to be flexible, it's intended to give you the flexibility to entertain all kinds of things. You can still, if you want to, have the sole and absolute discretion of deciding how that PD is structured and what the requirements are. But don't tie yourself down to just a 25% increase. What if you need 28 to make a wonderful project work? Right now it says 200% more than the schedule. Maybe that's a bit excessive. But if you have the sole ability to decide what's reasonable, you can change it as you need to. I think limiting it would be a mistake and a disservice. Thank you.
Judy, thank you very much for taking the time. Next person, please.
I came here in 91. It seems that the reason you want to pass the rule is for wetlands. That seemed to be the main criteria. Am I correct?
That was one of the criteria.
What's the second criteria?
Okay. Other reasons for unbuildable, unusable property.
Right.
Wetland is one item, slope, other reasons for property not to be buildable. We did not, we're trying to be broad, not restricted strictly to wetlands.
Okay. So I don't understand why you need the law. I mean, the way it was written was fine. What was you didn't think it protected wetlands or you allowed people to go on unbuildable properties?
The old code did, yes. To include the wetlands when they were trying to come up with it.
I don't see the need for that law at all.
Okay. But that's why we have a public hearing, for everyone to express their opinion. And thank you very much for taking the time to do that, sir.
Thank you.
Next person, please. Mr. Basil.
Lou Basil, 69 Abbott Drive. I've been following this law, how it started from the planning board meetings, and that's where it started out of. The planning board said this was an oversight, allowing this. As far as law goes, I am not sure where I stand on it, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. But where I do stand is the way it is going to be affecting the shoe arts. And I really believe that you should change the date or the wording to allow the shoe arts to go through with their plan. They've had a lot of energy involved in this, a lot of money, and to say from, if you pass this law tonight, that they probably won't be able to do their project. It would be cost not effective for them. So I kind of beg to you that if you're going to pass this law, pass it so anybody who's got an application in now can keep working on that application. And to reiterate what Sandy said, with senior housing, she's right. There isn't very many pieces of property in this town that could support that.
Thank you very much, Lou. Please, thank you.
It's going to be a little awkward. I don't know just how to proceed through this, but Lee King, Record Farm Road. I have a question or two that I would like to direct through the board to your attorney and receive a response back from Mr. Gilchrist. Thank you for your service. On April 25th, there was the most recent and I believe final seeker that was conducted on the Shuhart proposed PDD. And it is to my understanding that there were 3 counts under the review of that Secor that indicated a positive declaration. So my question to the board, to the attorney is, what effect upon that proposed project do these positive declarations have on that project going forward? Does that stop that project? Or does it curtail it in some way? What is the legal status going forward as a result of finding some positive declarations on the Secor?
Would the board like me to respond? It's not particular to the subject of the public hearing, which is the introductory local law, but I'm happy to respond. Okay? And this is just conceptual. Don't interpret this as applying directly to any particular application, but I'm just going to discuss what a positive declaration is and what it means for an application's review. I think that's fair. Okay? So when an action comes in front of any board, there is an application for a planned development district pending in front of this board. The State Environmental Quality Review Act requires that board to analyze the potential environmental impacts of the project. And you're right, that's seeker, and an environmental assessment form is filled out. That's part of the project review. And so this board is acting as lead agency on one particular project, but whoever the lead agency may be, who's undertaking the lead on the environmental review for that project, they have to review the environmental assessment form and determine, based on the information in that document and based on the application materials, is there the potential, not that there will be, but is there the potential for at least one significant adverse environmental impact? And the seeker regulations define the environment and adverse environmental impacts. Then a positive declaration would be adopted. If the lead agency, based on the review of that information, determines that there is no potential for any significant adverse environmental impact, then a negative declaration is adopted. If a negative declaration is adopted, that ends the seeker process. It ends the environmental review for that project. Doesn't mean the project's approved, it means the seeker, the environmental review, is at an end. Then the boards would then continue and actually review the subject matter of the application, whether it be under local zoning or whether the applicable law might be. However, in the event a positive declaration is adopted, that likewise means the project's not denied. It means the review continues. So when a positive declaration is adopted, there is an additional step that needs to be completed under the seeker regulations. That's the preparation of what's called an environmental impact statement. It is intended to provide more information on those potential adverse environmental impacts for the board to review and consider before acting on the application. It's not an approval, it's not a denial, it's a step in the review process. And so a positive declaration does require further environmental study. There's a procedure that's adopted associated with that. The first step is called scoping. What scoping is intended to do is to identify those issues that need further study in the environmental impact statement. Once the scope is finalized, think of it as like a table of contents. Then those additional studies are done and put together and submitted, and that's called the environmental impact statement. That helps the board consider the entire project. So it's not an approval, it's not a denial, it's a step in the review of the application. It's a necessary seeker for environmental impact components, but it's not an approval or denial of the underlying application.
Thank you for your comprehensiveness. Now I will direct a question, as I presume I'm required to do, to the board in response to your attorney's redress. The seeker, which is a substantial document, cites some positive declarations in areas which your attorney states are now going to require an environmental impact statement. And when we think of environmental impact, we think of such things as traffic hazards. We think of such things as storm runoff. We think of such things which have to do with the environment. However, the positive declarations that were found in the seeker review have nothing to do with any of that, and indeed, in my opinion, are quite subjective, limiting themselves in the scope of being only those matters which have to do with the identifying, the very subjective matter of identifying as to whether this project would fit into the adjacencies within the community. Not that it is a true environmental impact, but one that is subjective to whether you like the appearance of it or not. I reserve further time for the public comment period. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
If I could,
Please, if you can.
just for the record, this was not a determination by me as attorney. This was a determination of the lead agency, that being the town board. I'm simply providing legal advice, and the consulting engineer is simply providing engineering advice. Determination was made by this board. And the second point is, this board does not define what the environmental impact issues are under seeker. New York State has done that through the environmental conservation law in particular, and the regulations implementing seeker that were adopted by DEC. So this board didn't define how the environment is defined under seeker. New York State has done that through regulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And to add to that, the town engineer did a commendable job, in my opinion.
Thank you. Next person regarding local law, proposed local law number 3. Please, sir. Thank you.
Couple questions of the board.
Name, please, sir.
Kevin Paratoff,
Thank you very much, Kevin.
live on Hinkle Road.
Thank you.
The 15% grade over 50 feet. Question I have, is that before or after excavation?
Prior to, I believe.
Okay, it doesn't state it there, that's what part of the whole
Thank you.
confusion.
That's why we had public hearing, sir.
And if I have 100 feet and it's the center section's got a 15% grade, so, I got 50 feet in the middle, can I use the first 50 feet? So only 25%, feet are less than the 15%, and the last 50 feet, it's in 15. I'm putting a grade in the middle of a 100-foot section. You don't say over a specific distance of 15. You said in the 50 foot. Well, I'm going to start my 50 feet in the flat section and end it in the middle of the hip. So I think you need more clarification, unless someone can tell me how it is and then change the writing so it specifies that.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
In the 100-year floodplain, how much of the town is in the 100-year floodplain? Has anybody looked?
Okay, I can't give you the exact percentage, but unfortunately, there is a good section following the creek down and going
And
down.
how wide in that part of the creek? So like Flint Road, no one could have built there. I'm
A section of Flint Road would not be, just as a section of Empire Right could not have been used. Section of, I think, maybe James, and moving down farther, there are sections of town that are involved, but, and it's still a problem.
Yeah, it's there, but, I'm just taking Wager's farm. I think Wager's borders the creek. So he has all that farmland and he decides to develop it. 50% of those lots can't be in flooded land. What difference does it make if it floods and the house and the property isn't in the flooded property? It's going to flood for 2 weeks and then it's going to be dry again. So I'm curious that you can't build in the floodplain now, I don't believe. If you can.
No, sir, you can't.
Okay, so you can't build in the floodplain, but you're taking that out of the usable land for my backyard. I don't care if my backyard floods, as long as my house doesn't flood. So I'm trying to understand.
We can't get, okay. Yes, sir, I appreciate you bringing that up. In that hypothetical example you just used, though, we can't guarantee that the water wouldn't flow from the backyard into the house, at the floods. So I can't deal in hypotheticals. I appreciate you bringing these points up, all for consideration.
Maybe one more on this stuff. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next person, please.
I'd like to say something.
Please. Referencing local law number 3, correct?
Excuse me,
Referencing local law number 3.
in reference to the Shoe Hearts project.
Thank you.
My name is Michelle Malafesto.
Please.
I think that this new law is not fair to them. You guys should have been considering, or were probably considering this, right? Because they do have this permit in front, excuse me, in front of you for approval. I don't know, were you not approved? Not yet. Okay, so I do think that you should consider this project as well as other projects going forward. You don't know what's gonna happen down the road or, you know, in general with the town. You know, you might wanna do something else, another, what is that? Senior housing. Yeah, no, not the senior housing, but you have other projects that people would like to build that are community projects that, and you're excluding all that with this law. And I do think that you're heading for a lawsuit with the town if you don't approve this, and I don't think it's right. That's it.
Thank you, Michelle. Next person, please. So please, thank you.
Okay, just ask, did you say we're heading for a lawsuit if we don't approve the local
Well,
law
I think
3?
that,
Or you mean if we approve
You
the
could
local
be.
law 3 as it's written?
I think
Okay,
you could
not the
be.
development, but just the local law 3. Yeah, does that
the
make sense?
local law,
It's just the way it
when
came
the
out.
Shoe Hearts already put it, they're
Agreed.
almost 5 years into this,
No,
correct?
I'm not, I
Okay,
just,
yeah,
I
that's
thought,
where I
I
was
thought you were
going.
saying that we should approve it the way it was. And that's not the way it
No,
makes sense. Thanks.
Phil LaRock, Algonquin Estates. We built our house in 1986. We love it. I really wasn't coming to speak to this issue, but my background is as a lobbyist for the development and real estate and construction industry. So I have a little knowledge about planned unit developments, lawsuits, and so on. I think the town is headed for trouble. I'm not sure what that is by making this law retroactive. I don't know these people. I appreciate what you're trying to do. And from my pro-development perspective, I think you have to make this law prospective in nature. When you have a project in the pipeline and you're going to shut it down with this law, that's wrong. It's simply unfair. I don't care where the project is. And I've spoken across the country on this issue. Whether you have lawsuits or not, that's not for me to figure out, and I certainly won't be involved in it. But retroactivity is a real tough one when it comes to local laws. And I think you're headed for trouble. And I think you can avoid that by basically amending the proposed local law 3 to make it prospective. Now you can do cutoffs as Andy can, show you. There are different periods where you can describe when you want to cut off something in the pipeline, okay, or when you start it, okay. I think they're pretty far along. And knowing the industry, they've spent a lot of money on this project, not just energy, real dollars. So I think retroactive applicability is inappropriate here, and it's just unfair. Thank you.
Phil, thank you very much for your comments. Next person, please. Somebody raised, I don't know what it was. Okay, gentleman in green and in blue, please, step right up. Thank you very much.
For Shoe Hearts, development, they've been doing it for 5 years, and I'm not a good speaker. Yeah, I think it's a good asset to the town and all the areas. And I really don't think wetlands, it's nice to have them, they got their bugs and animals and everything, so they're not gonna bother them, they're not next to them. We got lots of land over there. And I feel that the board should, if you're gonna pass this law, it should skip them out, in other words, like the lady said before, it's just not fair.
My 2 cents.
Thank you very much for taking the time to give your 2 cents. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. Greg, did you want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Much like Phil, I wasn't going to speak on this, but, I've been busy on other stuff. I haven't actually looked at this law at all. I mean, I know it on the surface. I haven't looked at it detailed. I haven't looked at the Schuhart's application, but I know it's been pending. So I'm not even going to comment on the positive or minus of their project, nor the local law. But the only thing that I will comment on is fairness. Mr. Basil spoke about it, and Bill spoke about that. They had the application in the pipeline. It's been here for how many years, whatever many years it has been. To apply something retroactively, just in the sense of good governance, just doesn't seem fair. I mean, if the board eventually determines that the Schuhart's is not a thing they want to do on its own, that's perfectly within your purview. But if somehow this new law is going to be used to reject their application, that's just not right. Certainly you've heard a lot of stuff tonight. I think there's some things that need to change and address. People mentioned some specifics that people pointed out, which is great. I know that's a public hearing. But I certainly would advocate for that this is prospective only and not anything that's pending, that's already been submitted to the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. Next person, please. Terry, please.
Part one. Yes, my name is Terry Jack Angelo. I live over in the Native American section. The Schuhart's have been, I think, before when Dominic was supervisor, this is when the plans first were brought before this board, not this board, the previous board. And they've jumped through every hoop that the boards have asked for, past, present, future. They've amended it. I think originally they wanted 64 units. The town didn't like that, so they amended it to comply with what the town requested. Then they added another. They keep, I don't want to say dicking around, but they're dicking them around, it seems. Sorry. Forever. And I wasn't an English major. But the thing is that the new law is ambiguous in so many respects into what can and can't be done, retroactive things. There's too many. The law, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer either. I wasn't a law major either. But it just seems that some of the wording is totally unfair to the Schuhart's and other people, and I personally oppose it. And I don't have a proxy, but I'm sure my husband would too. Thank you.
Terry, thank you very much for taking time to come and say something. Next person, please. Please.
Linda Mandel Clementi. I just would like to say that as a general rule, as many of you know, zoning is in derogation of common law property rights. It's something that should not be undertaken lightly by the town. It should not be undertaken with the idea of removing rights that people have anticipated in having in their property. I think with respect to what I'm hearing about the Schuhart's, that might well be true with this particular law. But I would ask this board to look at the broader question of everyone who owns property in this town and what this proposed local law means for them. And what this proposed local law means for the town in terms of tax revenues. Because if in fact you pass this, you adopt this local law, you are limiting the property that can be developed, you are making determinations about whether or not property is usable, not usable, consideration for whether it could be considered as green space, not as green space, developable or not, that can have an impact on your tax base. Because I would strongly advise any property owner in the town that owns land subject to this regulation to go in and read their taxes and argue that you have asserted as a board that that property is not usable for certain purposes. what impact is that going to have on the town in terms of tax base? These are all considerations that need to be brought into play as you consider this local law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please. No? Okay. Thank you. No one else cares to speak? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing on local law number 3? A second?
Need to vote on that motion.
Yes. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of ending the public hearing section on local law number 3? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? 5 zip zip. I thank everyone for who came up and spoke, excuse me, for taking the time to share their thoughts and opinions. It is appreciated. Next item up, audit committee, report on the audit committee.
We've reviewed the bills and found them sufficient to be paid.
Thank you very much, David. Do I have a motion to accept the report on the audit committee? Thank you. A second? All those in favor of accepting the audit committee's report? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you. Okay, next item up is public comment period. And again, if anyone wishes to speak, we just ask that they come up to the podium and identify themselves. And please.
Thank you. I got one real quick thing and one major concern. This gentleman over there by the wall, by the name of DJ, had big shoes to fill when Toby retired. And I just want to say you're doing one hell of a job. Thank you. In speaking with DJ about a particular issue, again, Ken Gibson, 93 Rikard Farm Road. I live in the Rikard Farm, all right? Part of Lee's heritage there. Been there 31 years, and speeding cars have always been a major problem. We had the road posted by the state of New York for 45. Anybody that's been down Rikard Farm Road or up Rikard Farm Road knows that's absolutely ridiculous speed. Now, I realize the town didn't post it. The state of New York is the one that determines it. In speaking with DJ, I understand there are 2 other roads that the board is trying to get the state of New York to lower the speed limits on. And I respectfully request that Rikard Farm Road gets added to that. And also speaking with DJ, there was a person on the road that was really complaining about the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit being posted. So the signs came down. Again, the road is not posted whatsoever at this point, even though the speed limit is 45. Nobody knows that. You want to tell me what the speed limit is in the state of New York when you see no signs? 55. 55. Yes, and I do get a lot of 55-mile-an-hour people there. My front door is 16 feet from the edge of the road. So, again, I'm done, but I respectfully request that Rikard Farm Road gets on, the board's request to the state of New York to lower the speed limit. And I'll suggest 35. Be happy with 20, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan, for speaking. Lee, please, then this gentleman in the middle. Because Lee had his hand up.
That's all right, no problem.
want to tell a quick story and then get down to the point here. On Tuesday of this week, I had a veterinary appointment down at Nassau, at the veterinary clinic down there. And on the way back, just immediately after leaving there, coming back on Route 150, crossed over the Poestenkill Creek. And I saw a sign there on the left that I had not really taken notice of before. And I instinctively stopped and turned around and went to see if this was a senior citizens living provision. And it turns out that it was. Give me just a moment here so I can get this set up. I'm gonna just set this back here against the wall and hopefully, let me just tuck this behind you for a minute there. Can you just kind of hold down? Sure, all right. Good. Thank you, Steve. The name of this seniors provisions is called Brook Point. So I turned around and I went back up there to see what this looked like. And lo and behold, it turns out that it was a senior citizens living provision. And there were some people that were gathered here in the foyer. I got out and I started talking with them and asking them some questions because I was kind of curious as to what kind of feedback I would get from some people who actually do live in one of these facilities. And I soon learned that it was something which was very much like the one that had been proposed for right here in the town of Poestenkill. So my curiosity being raised, and they suggested that I might go inside and speak with the manager, I did. Young man's name is Jordan. He happens to be the son of the person who was the builder of this project, as well as a few others here in this Capital District area. So now I'm getting the impression, and I'm really kind of like talking right straight to the horse's mouth, and I'm going to get some really good straight information as to what one of these things is really like. And I come to find out something which was a verification of that which I'd learned from a builder a number of years ago, but now I was getting it verified, that in order to make a senior citizens living provision even anywhere near economically viable, to even make it possible, you have to be looking at a minimum of about 50 units. And the reason for that is because of all of the additional architectural, engineering, and accommodations for grades and such amenities like an elevator, for example. You need to have an elevator in one of these facilities because seniors need something better than stairs. The cost of an elevator alone well exceeds the cost of a normal house. So it only begins to start really making clear sense that in order to put together a senior citizens living provision, you have to be able to cluster these things together in order to make it economically viable. Now, I hope I can make this conversation relative to this proposed local law number 3, but let me try to stay on track here for just a moment. After having gleaned a fair amount of information from this manager, I then thought I'd go back outside and I'd speak with these seniors again and get some direct information from them as to what it's like to live in one of these units. And after speaking with them for about 20 minutes or so, I got a real good impression. And I'm going to quote you a parting remark from one of the ladies that lives there. And she said, "Most of us here are widows or widowers, and we don't want to live alone. We are like one big family here. We have our own apartments. We do our own cooking. We have a community room where we can do what we want. We planted these plants. We feed these birds. We feel safe and we have what we need. We like it here." And I took my dog and I got in my truck and I drove away, thinking, I only hope that we can have something like this in our town someday. I hope that someday I'm gonna be able to go to a senior citizens living provision. Not that I have a horse in this race, because I'm probably not gonna be living in one. It's probably I choose to live at the poverty line. That's my choice. But for those people who have managed their life and can live in one of these facilities where it is necessary to draw things together, for the sake of practicality, I hope I represent their interests. And while on that subject, I want to make an attempt to relate it to this proposed local law, which I hope, if this ever gets passed, I hope it has no applicability to the program which is before us. I think it's absolutely necessary for these senior citizens who, by necessity and their own free choice, and apparently one that they really like, are able to look out and see wetlands, and are able to see slope, and are able to see other undevelopable areas, as I do believe that they should be included within the density plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentleman in maroon, please.
This is a very good question because I've kind of maybe lost what has gone on in town sometimes. The boy wanted concrete, wants to move across Stop 13 Road.
Okay, excuse me, this gentleman is, can we wait on that comment until Mr. Clemente has a chance to make his presentation?
Hey, just one question. Is the 10 acres still in effect?
You mean mining in?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's what my question was.
Thank you very much, sir. Next person. Okay, again, this is for public comment, not in reference to any future items on the agenda right now.
Yeah, I'll reserve time for that too. I got a long list today.
Thank you, Terry.
Tom, you missed me, haven't you?
True, Terry.
I'm sure the whole board has. Okay, the first thing, I want to address the Troy Sand and Gravel but the first thing I want to address is the website. There is no access to search. There's no search, separate search that you can put in taxes and 15 things will come up. So it's difficult, and there's no place to access documents, like the things that go along, resolutions and whatever documents are relating to tonight's board meeting. There was no documents presented, and there was no way to find them. On the old website, I believe that the documents were available, but anyway, that's just something that frustrated me.
Okay,
So
all right. I'm more than happy to work with you a little bit on that, because on the website, right on the front page, there was access to local law number 3.
it was, but there wasn't any other, there was no access to, I didn't see local law number 3 yesterday. It wasn't there. I sent a note to Kara, I believe it was yesterday. But anyway, it's just that it's difficult to navigate the new website. Okay, secondly, code enforcement officer, there's an abundance of all these little signs everywhere in town. Roofing, toenail polish, I don't know what they are, but
There's calls for being made tomorrow to these respective companies.
well, it's been neglected. Our town code, you either need a permit from the town or they're not supposed to be there. Our old code enforcement officer used to go around and remove them and tell them people pick up your signs, whatever. This code enforcement, I don't know what. I don't know if it's him or, but
No,
whatever,
it's not
they're there and they need to be removed because they're in violation. So, and
Calls will be made tomorrow, numbers on.
thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
And thirdly, not including the, I don't know if this is, if there's any law against it, or if there's, but Mr. Baziz's wife is on the planning board, the zoning board, and I don't know if that's a conflict of interest, because if there's something that comes in front of the planning board that the town has to vote on, I don't know if he could, it just seems like it presents impropriety. It's probably not. I'm sure everything's above board, because I know Dominic never spoke to me about anything. But it's just something that maybe the ethics or somebody should look into with this. If there's any rule against a family member serving on a board when an elected official is a direct relation, father, mother, wife, husband. That's all. And then I'll leave the rest for later. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, Terry, hold on, okay. Laura got on the planning board and had come up with an applicant. I brought her, I approved her getting on along with some of the planning board members. We were looking about 4 people to join the planning board at the time, and it was, the responses were very, very thin. And Laura had qualifications, and I helped bring her on. And as far as conflict goes, I don't believe there is one, but I will double check and get back to you on that respect.
Thank you. Because, well, Frank wasn't on the town board at the time when she was appointed, so that's why I said now he is an elected official. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Stephen, I'm sorry, I could not see your hand.
That's you.
No, oh, no, I'm not.
When all the people, yes,
Anybody who knows Laura knows that nobody's telling her how to vote.
That's
Okay. All right, any other public comment? Please, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Susan Mullen Caliber, Thomason Road. I've asked a few times, I'm gonna ask again about the ethics board. Where is the ethics board? What are they doing? Who is on it? And if the answer remains there are vacancies on that board, what is being done to fill it? Because there are ethics concerns from last year's board and some of what I've heard this year.
We have 3 members on the ethics board, and I have been slow as far as putting notices out about filling 2 empty spots. We have 3 members on it, and Andy is the counsel to the board.
Is there a chair of that board?
Not that I'm aware of right now, no.
So the 3 members, plus Mr. Gilchrist, have they met?
They will be meeting.
When?
Soon, in short order. There's a situation coming up. The members have been contacted. I've reached out to them twice, making sure that they still want to be a member and advising them that there's a case going before them.
And there's going to be some publication or advertising
For 2 members.
Get new members?
Yes.
Where is that advertised? On the website?
That will be advertised, yes.
That's what I meant to say, excuse me.
No, I think
Where
that-
will it be advertised?
On the website.
That's it, that's the only place it'll be.
Unfortunately, we can't use the advertising. I'll find some other place. I'll put it in the Eastwood Press too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? I'm sorry, any other sitting members of the Blue, please?
I'd just like to reserve some time on item 6.
Thank you, Will. Anyone else on the floor would like to speak? David, please.
I have a couple things. First of all, I have been contacted by National Grid regarding LED lighting, and they want $6,685.54 to convert to LED lighting. But what surprised me was that the bill is only going to be reduced by about $100 a month. And if you do the math, the payback would be 5.5 years before we recovered the amount of money to do the conversion. Yeah, that's the only savings. And the only explanation, I'm not an expert. Pardon me?
Speak up, please.
The only explanation that I can think of that explains this is that the existing lighting, which are probably mercury vapor, have evolved over the years to be very efficient lighting as well. And that the difference between them and LEDs is not that significant. That's the only conclusion I can come up with. But he did ask me if our board is interested, so I think it's something we should think about, and maybe in the next couple of meetings come up with a decision and an answer for him. That's the first item. Second is I did some math on the water project. I have no comments. It just were some numbers that seemed interesting to me. According to the documents, there's 171 homes, but I think what they mean by that is benefit units, because the school is a chunk of those, I believe.
Yeah.
But if you do the math, $5.55 million divided by 171 is $32,456 per home to hook them up to the water district. The local debt alone is $274,433. You divide that by 171, it's $1,604 per home. In addition to that, each homeowner will have to pay an average of $3,500 to connect to the water district. As an alternative to that people should think about, I'm not making any comments on this, because I did do some shopping for water treatment systems that will remove PFOAs from the water, and the systems range from $1,200 to $5,000, and the maintenance could be as much as, for filter changes, $50 a month. But that's an alternative to somebody hooking up to city water, and that's something that people might want to think about. That $5.55 million, most of that is not directly our money. It is money raised through taxes we pay to the federal government, to the state government, and to the county government. It's just for information purposes. The third thing I'd like to talk about is the town's investment of the monies that we have. And I talked with you, Tom, back in December, that I was willing to do a cash flow forecast with Betsy so that we could get maximum amount of money earned on the monies that we have in the bank. I haven't heard from you since then, and the treasuries, there have been no treasuries purchased. And what I'm asking for from you is an explanation of why not. And as a reference, last year we earned $106,000 and $500.26 on the treasury investment. We're not earning that this year. We are making 3.5% in our savings account. So far, we've earned $9,401 this year, but we could have earned over $11,000 in treasuries in February alone. We have sacrificed thousands of dollars by not moving the money into the maximum investment opportunities that we can. And I think the people in this town need an explanation of why not.
I have been slow, but I respectfully disagree with you on the amount, on the interest that has been earned.
The 106,000?
No, sir, no, sir. No, I didn't.
Oh, the other money.
The other one.
Okay.
Okay, no argument here on that, David. I was not involved last year. And the bulk of the money is in 3.5% of interest. treasuries, I believe, were 5.25% or 5%. I have been trying to work through some numbers. I have been slow. I do not feel that we can go into the treasuries to the extent that we did last year, because the money's needed for different departments. I will review it, and I will be back and we'll come up with some type of treasury investment within the next 2 weeks. And I apologize to the town for my slowness on not getting more money into a little higher interest rating than the 3.5% that we're currently earning on the loans. That's my fault. I get it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Dave, I'm sorry. Thank you. With the 9, you said the 11,000, so that would be 11,000.
Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, we can't hear.
We can't hear you guys up here.
Sorry.
Need a microphone.
So,
That's
probably. So with the 11,000 that we could have earned, is that, the difference is really $2,000 in interest?
That was just in February.
Okay, so.
We could have put the bulk of our money into a 30-day treasury in February. And that would have earned significantly more interest than the 3.5%, yes.
Okay,
Since that time, the difference is 1.7% difference on a pretty significant amount of money that we don't have to spend now, because I don't know if anybody, in a business, you get money as you sell your items and ship your items out the door, and then people pay you, you get your money. The town gets almost all of its money by February 3rd. We don't spend that money February 3rd. We spend that money gradually over the year. So if we are maximizing the return on our investment, and treasury bills are the standard way that government agencies invest their extra cash, we can maximize the amount of money, which enables us to spend money as a town without raising taxes. And if anything, if we earn enough, consider lowering them. And that is the objective.
And this is just because I'm new on the board. Tom would be the chief financial officer of the town.
Correct.
He just, in a business, if I just took it over, I'd want to get a handle on things too, and have some sort of reasonable time. But yeah, we should do that. And I think, setting a time frame in the future, a definite time frame when we can get that cash flow. Can you hear me? When we get that cash flow settled, then do it, but do it properly, just the way you're saying. But I don't think it would have been right to jump into it January 1st.
Well, as I said, I discussed it with Tom in December so that we could work on it in January and do the cash flow forecast.
Yeah.
Once we had that, we would know how much money we could set aside and when we would need to have it come out.
Agreed, just how long that process
Just never
takes.
happened. Yeah, but it never happened. My offer wasn't accepted and we never did anything.
It sounds like it's in process though, and you've moved some of the
Well,
money.
it's already May.
It is.
We're just literally giving up thousands of dollars of money that we could get for the town. And I think it's inexcusable.
I just would give them, I just think you gotta do those things prudently, and you don't want to get into a cash flow issue. So, that's all.
Thank you very much. June?
So I wanted to talk about something not about this, and it's getting late, so I'll be quick. First of all, as far as Dave talking about the money, we're a small town that has about a $1.6 million budget. We take taxes in, we pay for roads, we pay for salt, we pay to plow roads, we pay for employees' salaries, and we should have a little bit of money set aside for a rainy day, right?
I don't know, we could debate what that amount is. Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it? We're sitting on millions of dollars in extra cash reserve. I don't think that's very fiscally responsible for a tiny little town. We shouldn't have more than our operating budget trying to make a couple bucks here and there. If we're taxing people too much, we should give the money back. We shouldn't be trying to make this an investment project. That's my opinion. We should have a rainy day fund. When we had a contingent, we did the budget this year at a contingency of $19,000. I suggested that we pour more money into that contingency fund. Town board didn't want to. And I think in February, we took out $17,000 of the $19,000. So we have all this money sitting around somewhere that I don't know we have our hand on where it is, where it came from, or what we should be doing with it. But I don't think the town should be sitting on money. We should be taking money in, sending money out, and having a little bit of money if and when there's a problem. But that was not what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to mention that's something we should look into.
Can I respond to that before?
I'm still speaking.
No, I just
The other
was
thing I
asking if I
wanted
could
to talk
respond to
about
that.
is, no, I want to speak and now I would
Change
like
the
to,
subject.
I have the floor.
Gentlemen, please.
Right? I have the floor. The thing that I wanted to talk about, and it came up tonight, anyways, was, on January 2nd, I sent an email to Tom and to Andy requesting that the ethics board meet and discuss an issue that I think is of importance to the ethics board. I don't want to, I know Tom was new to the job, but I got an email, and there's been many emails since then. Here's the issue. What's the next step? What are we doing? When does the town inform the ethics board? When does the ethics board meet? I was informed today in an email that I can tell the ethics board about my letter. But then you just said today that you have reached out to the ethics board. I know I'm not picking on anybody here, but clearly we don't know what the process is when an issue for the ethics board is raised. Now, it's getting late and I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but if someone makes an ethics request, it shouldn't take 4 months for it to get sent to the ethics board. It should go to Andy, my opinion, but Andy can tell me I'm wrong. Andy should vet it because we've had people submit things to the ethics board that weren't appropriate. And we have utilized Andy and his experience to say, you know what, that's not an appropriate thing for the ethics board to look into. But to then tell me 125 days after I submitted something that I am supposed to submit to them, does that mean if I send it to the ethics board, they ask me questions? I'm the one bringing the issue to the ethics board. So we need a process by which we understand how this works and how someone, I assume would be the supervisor or the town attorney, because the advisor to the ethics board, contacts the ethics board and says, we have an issue that you folks might want to come in and consider. But it's been 128 days now. And as per your email this morning, I'm supposed to tell them, but you told Susan that you reached out to them. So clearly we need a process. And I'd like to know if Andy has any input on this, and not just to admit, it's one thing to point out problems, that's fine. We should fix this. So as we're doing the employee handbook, this is a process we should figure out over the next month. And we should make sure we put it into the new employee handbook so that when we pass the employee handbooks, it's in there so that going forward, we know what the process is. But Andy, if you have anything to add to that, I would like to know why it's taking this long. I'd like to know what the process is. I want to know if you vetted it or not. And I want to know what are the next steps to this request.
I have reached out to the people on the ethics board twice to make sure agency if they're interested, if they're still going to work with it. And then I've also mentioned to the people on the ethics board that the case is coming before you. I did not want to be the point person so as not to show any bias. I have notified you both times when I did reach out to the ethics people to try and move this forward and making sure that they're ready to go. But obviously, I haven't done enough, and I just have to correct it and move forward from here. Process.
So
Time out. Okay, and I'm not, Andy is counsel, but it's my responsibility, and please do not put Andy in any type of spot for this, okay? Then I will, we're gonna try and get 2 more members, but in the interim, we do have 3 members. We have a workable board. The board has been appraised that you will be coming before them, and you have your case, and you can.
So then my last question, Tom, is what's the next step? Should I reach out to them, or are you gonna reach out to them?
I have already reached out to them twice to make sure that they are on board and involved. You would be bringing your case, so.
Thank you.
So if I could, since questions have raised about vetting, but let's be clear for the purposes of the record. I'm not a member of the ethics board. The town code identifies that I serve as counsel to the ethics board. Okay? I don't vet. I don't decide ethics questions. The procedure is clearly set forth in the town code. It does provide that any current or former town employee or official can make a request to have the ethics board review an issue concerning ethics, concerning what is identified within the town's ethics code. Alternatively, the town board itself can request that opinion from the ethics board. It's whether you submitted a request to the town board, or you can submit a request, in my opinion, the way the procedure is laid out in the ethics law of the town code is, as an elected official, current or former, or employee, you can request an opinion from the ethics board. So that, well, hold on. I just want to make it clear, I'm not a decision maker, okay? I don't want to be suggested that I'm vetting applications, I'm reviewing them, I'm making determinations. I do not. It's a separate board of the town that's created under the town code, the ethics board. Town code identifies that the town attorney, currently my role, serves as counsel to the ethics board. So let's just make that clear. Okay?
So then I guess my other question would be with that, because it's a process question. When you were on those emails, you have not informed me that I should reach out to the ethics board.
I've informed the supervisor.
And he informed me today, so that's okay. But that's the fact pattern now.
Can I ask a question? So what about Terry? Can she go directly to the board? Does she have to go to the town board? Or can she go directly to the ethics board?
If the board would like to seek legal advice on procedure or on issues of your town code, I'm happy to advise the board on that.
Okay, no, I just was looking at the access for the general public to the ethics board. That's what you're looking for. So.
The procedure is spelled out in the town code. Okay.
Thanks. So going back to the other comment you had, sounds like June, what Tom was saying as far as the T-bills and stuff like that. That would be.
What's that?
To consider it in June, getting the cash flow and stuff ready, which is a few weeks out.
What's up to Tom?
Mr. Clementi, please.
Well, before that.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm pushing ahead. Okay, correspondence, charter communications, I'm sorry, town clerk minutes from 4:25.
I move that we approve the town clerk minutes.
All those in favor of approving the April 25th workshop town board minutes? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? 5-0. Correspondence we had from Charter in referencing 2 small channel changes, updates to their system. That's it on correspondence. Liaison. Planning board wasn't really any activity. in April. Zoning board, same basic thing. Fire company, please. Any report?
No, the
The
chief's out of
only
town.
report I got was a financial report.
The chief's out of town.
Okay, Jim's out, so, okay, so we'll have to wait until next month, or the end of this month.
Tom, did you want me to provide an update for that? There's only really.
Yeah, please, Susan.
Okay. Fane gravel mine came before us. It was given a 1-year extension due to some legal issues they're having with a neighbor. They are looking to, I believe, reclaim that property soon, but a small portion of it is being, they're having difficulty getting the gravel.
Speak up, please.
We have begun the comprehensive plan and are looking for volunteers for the long trek ahead. So if you want to volunteer, welcome. That's it.
Stephen, thank you. Okay, library, please.
She's ready to talk from the zoning board.
Susan.
I'm sorry, excuse me, did you want to talk from the zoning board? Donna, please. I didn't see a hand wave.
Okay.
Donna, please, excuse me.
Oh, you're embarrassing.
Okay, all right, my bad, excuse me. No, Susan, please.
Okay. Susan Patnog, trustee at the Poestenkill Library. Our statistics for April, we had physical circulation of 1,143 items. Digital circulation was 732 items, and programming was 165 participants, and total visits to the library of 754. Programming highlights include pre-K and elementary mini musicians program. There were 26 attendees this month. Teens and adults, the Diamond Art had 20 participants in April, which was 4 teens and 16 adults. And we also had 5 families, including 19 participants from grandparents, parents, teens, and elementary age children, compete in our first ever jigsaw puzzle contest on April 1st. It was a lot of fun, and we're hoping to do this again in the nicer weather when we can set up outside to accommodate more families. Coming attractions include this Saturday from 10 to 1. There will be, people can drop by to make mugs for Mother's Day, which are going to be fingerprint mugs. And Thursday, May 16th at 6 p.m., the Let's Dish program will be with vegetarian. For those of you who are not familiar with that program, each month there's going to be a different person speaking on a different food-related topic, and hopefully we'll bring samples to share and share recipes and that kind of thing. On Wednesday, May 22nd at 6 p.m., there's a team craft, which are paperback wallets. Registration is required due to space limitations. And Thursday, May 23rd at 5:30 p.m., there's a Style Your Cycle, which is in honor of National Bike Month, which is bring your own bicycle to the library and give it a little style with supplied decorations. I don't know if they still do raccoon tails like they did when I was a kid, but that may be passé. Wednesday, June 26th is the kickoff of the summer reading program, and more details are to come. And there are still a little bit of time to get requests for teens to get their requests in for the monthly bat box. The registration closes on May 10th, so that's tomorrow. And finally, the Clement Memorial Scholarship applications are now being accepted. It's a $1,000 scholarship available to a high school senior who is planning to attend a 2- or 4-year school next year and who lives in the town of Poestenkill and loves to read. Applications are due by June 15th, and there's more information available on the library website. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Susan.
You're welcome.
Oh, beautiful.
Excuse me for missing you earlier, and I apologize.
Quite all right. Donna Campar, zoning board. We did not have a meeting last month, so we have nothing to report, but our first meeting of the year is next week. So we'll have something to report next month.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, next item up is youth advisory. Have this note from Kara. Horton. Okay, as of May 1st, we are currently on a wait list for weeks 2, 4, and 5 for summer camp. We have limited spaces available in weeks 1 and 3. All new counselors and CIT interviews have been completed, and we had a great turnout for that. We are having our first orientation on May 19th to meet the returning staff and give the counselors an opportunity to talk to their other group members. We'll also be handing out new staff paperwork to be completed on this date. Next item up, Conservation Advisory Committee.
So we have finally gotten all 7 members to get into one room at the same time. We're meeting on Monday night. I have an agenda that I'm gonna send out to the group, but if there's anything that anybody on the board wants us to discuss and put on that agenda, let me know, and we'll make sure we do that, and we'll get going on Monday night.
Thank you very much, Eric. Okay, now moving to discussion items. First item up, update on new Veterans Memorial and fundraising efforts.
To date, we have $7,914 that's been donated. We are planning on having some banners to for the Memorial Day parade and setting up a table at the Businessmen's Association and also at the parade to help maybe raise some more funds.
Thank you very much, June.
June, can I correct you for a second?
Yeah.
It's the Business Association. We are co-ed.
I know, I'm
You
there.
remember?
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, Mr. Clementi, thank you very much for your patience, sir.
And board, before this is started, as you know, I have for a long period of time represented Troy Sand and Gravel and its related companies. And so I will recuse myself from any participation in this. The board will use separate counsel, and given that relationship, I think I'll leave the room as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Jude Clementi. I'm a principal at Troy Sand and Gravel. It's a family business. There's 7 brothers in the business and 3 nephews and nieces right now. There's a lot of misinformation going around already. The rumor mill starts up really quick when it involves mining, unfortunately. And I want to start by presenting, we have these maps here. There's a lot of, mining's not a pleasant thing for a lot of people, but there's a lot of good things about this. This is not going to be a big deal from our perspective, and I understand there's a lot of concern. Let me start by saying about some of the misinformation. There's no tonal proposed for underneath stuff 13. There's no blacktop plans proposed. There's no blasting or hard rock. All this stuff can't be done over there. The zoning doesn't allow for it. No truck traffic outside the property. This is the only mine that's being proposed under this new code that you have in the town. They allow these 10-acre mining phases if the town board wants to change the zoning. This is the only one that doesn't have off-site truck traffic. The track traffic proposed for here is from the property to the north, coming across stop 13 onto the Troy Sand and Gravel property. The other deal, what else? I'll get done with all these. There's no impacts of wells and water. This has been studied a lot. We'll show you data. We're not mining below water table. That's not allowed either. There's no solar fields. That was also on the website, these informational websites, Facebook stuff. People, all kinds of stuff comes out. It's not true. No crushing or screening. Screening is allowed in the mining districts, but there is no crushing or screening being mentioned. Here's some of the things we are offering. This is something you never hear of. Troy Sand and Gravel is proposing to pay $1 a yard to the town for our gravel. We're donating 10 acres for playing fields. There's a lot of draw. We've talked to the people from the soccer league. They really are looking for fields. So we're proposing to donate 10 acres. Only mining and hauling. Now here's another thing. We're only proposing to mine from that site across stop 13, all on our property, into ours, from January 10th to April 15th. Nobody does that, but we can work with that. So basically the idea is we're working in the winter months when people are out, aren't as much out enjoying their yards and stuff like that. Windows are open, things like that. So we're only proposing to run from January 10th to April 15th. This doesn't need to be a big operation. Mining is running out in the capital district. Well, mining is running out everywhere. You know, people go on about the cost of housing and things like this. We're all causing this problem. Concrete's getting more expensive, blacktop's getting more expensive, sand and gravel's getting more expensive. And how is it good for the environment to truck aggregate sand and gravel from Saratoga County or Washington County? How's that better for the environment? So if you're looking at environmental impacts, that's a big impact of trucking further. So there's no off-site deliveries from this plant, no roads being used. Mining, the closest residence to the mine, where we're mining 5 acres. That's what we're proposing is 5 acres. And yes, if we get done with the 5 acres and it goes well, you still get your fields, you still have your roads to the fields, all paved and built by Troy Sand and Gravel. We're building a road, paved road from stop 13 up into the, about where the field is. I don't know. It's, by the way, it's about 2,000 feet just to get to the mine, almost half an acre, or excuse me, half a mile. And we're paving probably, I don't know, 600 to 800 feet to get to the area we're proposing for fields. And the Hall Road, you know, the closest residence to the Hall Road, because the Hall Road snakes, is there's 2 people that are within 700 feet, and the rest of them are all over 1,100 feet. These are things that aren't even, and these other mining applications that are getting approved in this town over time, I'm not saying they're flooding in, but none of them can offer this. This is really in a remote spot. You know, somebody put on the website, the Troy Sand and Gravel website, showing all our facilities there. I mean, there's 100 people, men and women, that are making their living off of there. And if you know anything about the mining industry and concrete, these guys are well paid, good benefits and stuff like that. We're proud of what goes on in West Sand Lake, and we think we'd work with the community. We could fill this room up with our supporters too. There's a lot of people we support with the list goes on and on. I won't get into that. But I'm hoping that the town, and what I also have here, because I'm not a lawyer, my lawyer was stolen by the town of Poestenkill. So I looked at the code, and what I see, this is not cut in stone. This is just a guideline for criteria to accept changing the zoning for mining. And I think we passed that criteria with flying colors. And that's all we ask. This is only an informational thing. This is nothing to be voted on today. We're not going to push a round peg into a square hole in this. We've been through fights a million times. People have changed our zoning. We've applied. They've ran out and changed the zoning, and they were successful at it. So it's interesting. Listen, everybody, on the case of, you know, I'm one that agrees. You've got zoning. We apply, and you run out and change the zoning. I don't see how that's fair, but it's happened to us. The courts give a lot of deference to the town. You guys have all the deference on this. We can't get this mining permit unless you change the zoning. But we're offering, now you might ask, at $1 a yard, we're probably looking at maybe 40,000 yards per year. It's not a big operation. We think, you know, even on snow days, if we don't run in the winter, we probably can move 1,000, 1,500 yards a day. We don't even need to run that much to get what we need. I'm not so sure we can do it in a month. This is not a big deal. I hate when it gets ahead of, people get ahead of themselves and they really come out. And I understand people have property values. That has been studied. I can provide you with documentation of that. Mining does not affect property values. And mining is not permanent either. I mean, this is 108, am I going off too long? Am I okay? 180 acres here.
You're here to make a presentation, sir. Please don't cut yourself short.
So 180 acres here. I imagine it's zoned for probably 90 homes. I don't know, 2 acre lots in this town? 1 acre, 180 homes.
Particular area.
All right, 180 homes. That's not better for the environment. You got to educate all those kids. You got to provide all those services. There's no services that are provided for. And out of the 5 acres for the mine and possibly maybe 5 acres worth of road, or a couple acres worth of road, the rest of it stays forever green. There's no party, what do they say, party barns or whatever they're proposing, all that could be proposed in the back there too. But we're not proposing that. This is not a heavy lift. We'll do what we can. We're never gonna satisfy everybody. But I'm hoping that the town will see to that. I guess that's about all I've got, but I just want to let you know, this is not a big thing. If you're running from January 10th to April 15th, and you're not running every day, and no truck traffic's leaving, it's just, and if you look at that road on that map, it goes between the peaks and the valleys for the most part. Noise will be pretty protected. That's all gonna be part of it anyway. Because even if we get the zoning change from the town, we still gotta go to DEC. This is barely feasible, right? I mean, you guys are gonna hit us with your engineering fees, we're gonna have to pay your engineers, we gotta pay our engineers, then we gotta go to DEC. This thing is barely worth it. But there is no more gravels to be had. Some people like, that's great. Well, that's great because you got your house, but for other people that want it, if you want to keep costs, that location in Sand Lake is a good, I mean, I imagine your highway supervisor would agree with that. That's a good location, a good asset to have in this area, because otherwise it means a lot more trucking. He's only got small trucks, and he's got to go a lot further to get it. You know, he probably goes to Cropsyville or he goes to Sand Lake. It's going to cost a lot more to have to go further. So I think just like garbage, just like everything, we need to have these things. You don't have a dumping, but you got to pick up your garbage. We need to have everything to survive in this world. And if you don't eat it, you got to mine it. That's just the way it is. There's so many things that are mined. And I don't think that this is a big impact to the neighbors. I think that's it.
Mr. Clementi, thank you very much for taking the time to make the presentation. Do you want these back or do you still?
Yeah, you can keep it.
Thank you very much. Nice shirt.
I have one like that.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I do. Do you guys know yet where you would put the soccer field?
Yeah. Aren't you on the map, Steve?
Not on that map, no.
Do you have a map?
Not all that, no. I think we have left.
This road is gonna be paved all the way. We would use that road. We sweep it, we maintain it, we build it. You found them.
This piece of property is not only toward the house, yeah, that's not open.
Aaron, thank you.
Right at the block that the house used to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andy will return after the public comment sections. Finish.
Back there.
Okay,
public comment on the on the gravel mine? We're kind of done with that, right?
Unless public comment.
Are we moving to C or are we staying?
Yeah, let's go to John Deere. Stephen, would you be gracious enough to ask me to come back and tell me we talk on John Deere?
Excuse me, Tom?
Yes.
Are you having a public comment?
Public comment period is at the end. Section 9, Terry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. BJ, would you like to talk about John Deere? Yeah. Okay, BJ, okay, we're moving on to item number C, under discussion items, referencing new John Deere mowing tractor with Tiger Boom mowing attachment.
I asked Tom to move this from an action item to a discussion item because I didn't have all of the info from the leasing company as of yesterday. I got that today, but I figure we could leave it on as a discussion item, so you guys have any questions on what we're trying to do, and in 2 weeks, hopefully we can vote to purchase this. Our mowing tractor that we have now is a 1992. We bought it used in 2002, so it's been in operation for 22 years here. They are a year out from order date to receive one, so that's why we're trying to do this now instead of at the end of the year when we have budget talks. So if we order it in May, we won't see it till probably next June 2025. We're in a good spot equipment-wise, where our next schedule of trucks to be replaced won't be till probably 27, 28. So we're in a window now where we could update the mowing tractor that gets used from April till November and do a 3 or 4 year lease like we did with the last plow truck and have it paid off before we have to worry about speccing out a new plow truck. The price on it, on Sourcewell state contracts, $195. The interest rate, oddly enough, was the same whether you did 3, 4, or 5 years. It was 6.5%. But what they recommended, and I agree, was rather than lock in today or in 2 weeks and then be at that interest rate next June, wait till we're 90 days out from delivery, then apply for the financing, because they're anticipating interest rates going down next year. So rather than leave some money on the table and lock in now, we can wait till 2025, save a few bucks. Obviously, we can't predict the future. I guess interest rates could go up, but that's not my forte of expertise. So our mowing tractor right now is actually up to Ray Trzynski's diesel repair shop. We're picking up tomorrow, but we probably got about 10 grand in repairs already to it, just to fix some hydraulic leaks on it so we can mow this season. It had to be split in 2 separate spots. So she's got 6,500 hours on her. She's getting tired. It's been a good piece of equipment, but it's time to update it. So I figured we could answer any questions tonight if the board had any, and then hopefully vote on it in 2 weeks. That's the plan.
You are satisfied with what they're offering this?
Yeah, I expect this machine up, yeah.
Okay. And I compliment you on the work that you did putting all this together.
Did you mention, if you said, I apologize to Jerry, but is the total cost?
Total cost is $195 and $39.
Right. And then this is something we have within our existing budget?
If we were to do a 3 or 4 year lease on it, our machinery 2 line, the past 2 years has been 100,000. We have one more payment on the plow truck next January, so we'd have to find 12,000 in budget to basically have enough to pay for a lease payment on this as well. So not a heavy lift to move some money around in the highway budget for 2025. So yeah, if we did a 4-year lease, we would have it.
Is this a lease to own?
Lease to own, yeah. Yeah, so the end buyout's $1 basically.
And that's where you're suggesting we would get the money from, right?
Yes, correct. Rather than trying to find 195 next year, you know, it just seems to make good sense, I think. It worked out well with that 4-wheel drive plow truck.
Other questions from members of the board?
So you would like to present this for the workshop meeting?
Yeah, to vote on it, so that way we can get on the schedule and like I said, hopefully, that way, yeah, right. Hopefully next June we'll have it, so we'll probably have to start next mowing season with this tractor as well, but.
Is it delay the John Deere or the attachment?
No, the delay is the attachment. We can have the tractor in about 3-4 months. It's the Boom, the mowing company, basically, out of South Dakota. They're so far back. It's happening all over. If you order a plow truck from International now, they're saying 3 years before you get it with plow equipment on it. So it seems to be that way with everything we purchase.
Other questions? Okay, TJ, we'll review it and we'll pass it to Andy, and we'll tentatively put it on, well, not tentatively, we'll put it on for the workshop meeting, the 23rd. Yes, 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, TJ, for your Okay, brief update on Water District Number 2 and the mandatory referendum. We're looking at June 27th, Thursday, the last Thursday in June. Tentatively, we're looking at voting from 12 until 7, and it will be by paper ballot. We have been talking with the Board of Elections and trying to coordinate and get information. We're working, trying to finish up on absentee, and the question has come up in regarding to trusts. That is being reviewed, and I'm not going to say any more about that. We'll have an answer on that well before the referendum. There's questions and answers that was put forth. We received that today, and that will be distributed, and we will address those questions and answers and get that information back out to the people. And the eligible voters are those whose names are specifically on the deed. Ivo Park only has 1 vote, businesses just have 1 vote. The trust is something we're being reviewed on, and we'll check on, and is in a household. If it's a straight up household, there is whoever's name is on the deed can vote on that day. Did I say that correctly? Right. Thank you very much. So we will constantly update you with information on Water District Number 2 as more becomes available, and it is up to the residents in the district. They are the sole deciders on whether or not this district will go forward.
And where will the vote take place?
The vote will take place at the firehouse.
Main station.
Main station, not up on the hill.
Yeah.
Main station. You're right.
Covering all bases.
You're right. Thank you very much. Main station.
Can I ask a question? I would like to see if, we probably would need Andy to look into this, but I'd like to see if we can, seeing that we're sitting on this significant amount of tax surplus, instead of taking $275,000 and taking out a 6% loan over 30 years, is there a way we can provide a better or 0 interest loan to the water district? Now, I say that again because, not because I want to give a benefit to a few people or a few properties in that proposed district, but because if this is passed, again, it's going to be accessed by the middle school, and it will benefit pretty much every Poestenkill taxpayer who sends their kids to public schools in the future, or certainly it will have a benefit to their property values. And this is not part of the general fund, because this is money that is in addition to and separate from the general fund. So I don't know if that's something that we can have Andy look at, but it seems silly for us to, they got a 6% interest loan for 30 years when we're sitting on 10 times that amount of money.
I have a question. I don't have that in my packet. How much money, and where's this money that you're talking, second time you mentioned it tonight? Is there a number? Is there, like, you must have a number, you just said 10 times, so it's $2.7 million?
Well, I know that, I don't know the answer to that. I think
Okay,
that's
so then, we don't know if it's.
I'm answering the question, Frank. I don't know the answer to that question because I don't think anybody on this board knows the answer to that question. I know that I was told that at the end of last year, we had a $1.8 million in a T-bond. That was in addition to our operating expenses. I was told this year it was more like 2.5. I don't know that that's true. That's what I'm hearing, but we certainly have $275,000, and it would make more sense to me, I think, to use that money for the benefit, not just of a small tax district, but for potentially the entire town, because it's going to access the high school or the middle school, and it's something that I don't know enough to, if it can be done or how it can be done. Again, it's not general fund, so I think we have more flexibility with that money, but that's why I would ask the board's thoughts on it, to ask Andy to look into this and see if that's something that we can do.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Andy was gracious enough to give us an answer at the workshop on that, and so stated in the minutes. But with respect to you, Eric, we will look at it one more time and get back to you.
Well, just to be clear, at the informational meeting, I asked that we pay for it. We use the money to put it in. I'm not asking for that now. I'm saying, can we float a loan to the district without a 6% interest rate? So I think it's two different things.
There you go. Okay.
So will Andy look into that for us?
Take my direction from the board. I will note though, the board did approve a resolution in order with a map plan and report that spelled out the proposed financing for the district, and that is what will be the subject of the referendum vote. That cannot be changed.
So, again, we just on that same subject, we still have the issue of houses not being served on Ford Road and stuff, and here we're taking even more money and placing it on that 171 benefit unit where it's only $110. That's how much I assume you would have to pay every month for the water district in Europe as a benefit of that.
Well, you get the money back, right? It's a loan.
Right, but I'm saying though, we should really look forward at seeing how we can include those other households that aren't in there. So if we have this money that I don't seem to see in the budget or anything like that, and you can't define it, we should be looking at how we can make sure we serve those people who are just outside the district.
Okay, but first things first, we are locked in on the mandatory referendum on what items are being voted on. We cannot change that at present time. It's up to the people to decide, whether or not they want the district, or they don't want the district. So it has been put forward, the resolution's been passed, and what we're working on is trying to get the mandatory referendum up and done.
Oh, I agree, and I don't think it would impact the referendum at all. I'm just saying, how do we go about creating a loan? That's all. We can go get a loan with a bank and pay 6%, or because we know we're sitting on a lot of money, we can loan it to the residents in town at a 0%, we're gonna pay it back anyways. It'll end up costing $275,000 instead of $595,000, which it will pay over 30 years. And then that's separate and distinct from the fact that we absolutely need to, if the voters choose to put it in, then yeah, we do need to extend it. And we'll have cash flow to do that, in addition to however much money we're sitting on as a town, which no one seems to know the answer to.
Okay. We'll now move on. Okay, just a quick announcement. Bulk Recycling Day on May 18th, Waste Management Facility, 8 a.m. to 12 noon. White goods and bulky items, no electronic items. There will be cost $20 to $30, I believe is the range on the product to be, if anybody brings that in. And that's a week from Saturday. Considering what has gone on at the initial public hearing regarding local law number 3, do I have a motion that we hold off on the vote for local law number 3?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of holding off on voting on local law number 3?
There is the motion pending, that's fine. Just to be clear, what the board is doing is determining not to act on local law number 3 tonight, neither approve nor deny, but to, in essence, not act on the proposed local law this evening, subject to review of the public comments. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of not acting on vote for local law number 3?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now go into reports. Supervisor's report on Water District number 2, proposed Water District number 2, vote on 6/27, working with Board of Elections, and also working in absentees. I attended the fire department meeting Monday night. I appreciate the hospitality shown. Listened to a couple, three or four residents on the particular situations. An update on the county funds for the water district. It came out, it was voted out of committee last night at the meeting, and will be up for a full vote by the legislature on the 14th, next Tuesday night, the 14th. Andy was gracious enough to give me some time to confer on several items, and brought back after the planning board meeting the other night. Had done a site visit to Fane Pit to get information on resident questions because of new activity in the section of the mine close to the corner of 66 and Snyder's Corners Road. And then I conferred with the residents who had the question, and they had currently gone down to Fane Pit previously, and they were satisfied with the comments that they received from the Fane situation. I've also been listening to residents regarding the land use revision, and attended a water workshop at the Troy filtration plant on upcoming testing changes. As Stephen was gracious enough to mention earlier, we are trying to come up with volunteers for the comprehensive plan. It will be an ongoing process. Meetings will be held on a regular basis. We're looking for input from all members of the community, down from the flats and also up on the hill. And we also coordinating a reciprocal agreement with North Greenbush Code Enforcement to address any situations that may present a conflict. That's my report. Thank you.
Very briefly, aside from routine matters, continue to work with the supervisor as he indicated on some outstanding legal issues. Worked on Water District 2 procedure for the referendum. Continue to work with the building department on certain code enforcement matters.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Nice and short.
Okay, we have town clerk's report.
During the month of April, town clerk took in 35,169.35. Of that amount, $34,988.01 was turned over to the supervisor.
I move that we accept the report.
Seconded. All those in favor of accepting the town clerk's report?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you. Okay, the assessor's report. Betsy's report is in your packet. All exemptions and tentative assessment roll changes were processed. Change of assessment notices were mailed to property owners. The 2024 tentative assessment roll is now available for review in the assessor's office and in the town clerk's office. It's available on the town and county websites also. The Board of Assessment Review grievance night will be held on Tuesday, May 28th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the assessor's office at Town Hall. We have started preparing for grievance night. We continue to work with residents and answer their questions regarding assessed values. The assessor will be available to meet with residents as needed. All other functions, including the processing of building permits, responding to resident inquiries, and updating the real property system, continue as normal. Thank you very much, Betsy. Okay, let's see, water manager report. Overview of April. We tested for coliform at Town Hall, which has to be done one time every month. Test results are negative. We tested for disinfection by products, and all samples are below the MCL. That completes our second quarter test on this. We are installing new antennas that have failed. This month, they have switched out 32 antennas, meaning April. We performed 7 dig safes for the town. We had 1 emergency dig safe this month. We are receiving new permits to hook up to the water system, the existing water system number 1. And the water department will continue to be represented in a polite, efficient, and professional manner for all residents of the town. William Sansone. Okay, next item up. Building inspector, they don't have that report. Dog control, I talked to Bob, and he's been doing his duties. It hasn't been too busy for him, and his garage is coming along. He's been okay with storage of dogs. Highway superintendent, do you want to say anything special, DJ?
No,
You did great.
report.
We all have the report that he was gracious to submit for the benefit of the public. We had a mountain of snow and windstorm. It came through early in April that had us cleaning up down trees and debris. The crew spent a couple of days cleaning up. We corrected some drainage issues on Cathley Drive and installed new stone drainage ditches in a few sections along that road. Townwide brush pickup was the week of April 15th through the 19th, and that went well. There was a lot of brush out, but the crew did a great job getting around town throughout the week to accomplish the tasks. More brush piles have come out since cleanup week, so we will be back out again soon to take care of those for residents. We have been out sweeping with the Elgin and pull broom throughout this month as well. The Elgin steering cylinder broke on us one day, so I had to tear that apart and order a new one. Got the new cylinder in a couple of days and had it back together the same week. The weather helped us this spring with numerous rainy days, so we did not have to wet roads much with water trail for dust control. And that's what DJ has submitted. The information on the potential mower with the boom arm. Okay, next item we have is the payment of bills. Please.
I move that we pay the general bills of $9,602.86.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? 5-0.
I move that we pay the water bills of $9,797.73.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining?
I move that we pay the highway bills of $4,128.40.
Thank you, John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 5-6. Thank you very much, David. Okay.
Right, before the additional public comment is taken, I'll again note that I represented Troy Sand and Gravel for a period of time. I'm recusing myself concerning that matter. I will leave the room in the event there's any public comments raised concerning that matter during the public comment period, and advise that the board retain or use separate counsel in consideration of that matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Can I have one public comment before we get started?
Let Andy
Oh,
clear
sorry.
the room, please.
I just want to thank DJ for getting us a new flag. I don't know if you noticed it, but as the guy closest to it, we needed a new one for a while. So thank you.
Okay, public comment period is now reopened. Phil, please.
Give me a couple hours. I don't have the dictionary like we had. Scared me when you brought your dictionary up. Phil Rock, Algonquin Estates. First, I've been unable to attend meetings relative to Water District 2, and I apologize for that, but business needs prevailed. I requested engineering LaBerge to respond to a letter, and frankly, I communicated with Tom also to show how you could eliminate the bond without even borrowing any money from the town. And doing it very simply. With some of the numbers, we played with the numbers. I know this business fairly well, and I've never gotten an answer, and I don't know if Tom has, because I know you were going to ask LaBerge, answers on the proposals to cut out $250,000, which left about $25,000. But never got an answer. So that's going to be a problem for me. And I want to be supportive of my neighbors who want to be, who support the water district, but now it's going to vote, and I understand that's sacrosanct. But I agree with Eric. That was the last proposal I made, was basically borrow money at the town, not at 0%, but 1%. It's a lot cheaper to borrow the money from the town and repay it by the water district taxpayers than have a bond council, and we're paying 6%. That's $600,000 in interest over 30 years. Okay, it's ridiculous. The money could be put back, and we could even accelerate the payments. But we should be doing something. You don't need. They're going to bond for $274,000. That's ridiculous. Okay, and I never got an answer, and I think we're owed one before this vote, because it's going to be an important part of the vote.
Can I ask you a question? Sure. You said you had a proposal for how to do it without borrowing the money.
Yes, sir.
What was that proposal?
The proposal was basically cutting down on the assumed interest rate, which was either 6 or 8%. There was a change order. I use the term change order from the industry, and you're probably familiar with that too. The change order or extras that are unanticipated was another, it was either 6 or 8%. I'm inverting the numbers, I think. Those are big numbers. Those are real big numbers. If you get to reality on a lower interest rate and a lower change order number, if you have good plans and specifications for the project, you won't have those kind of change orders. We're digging ditches is what we're doing here, okay? So the engineer probably already knows whether they've done hydrological studies on the soils or not to see how much dirt versus rock. It's probably clay, okay? We could be down to 0 on interest and on a bond. So that should be considered, and it has nothing to do with, it has something to do with the vote, because I'm not happy about this. And I'm going to speak up, as I am starting to do not tonight. And I would like to see the water district. I tested 0, but I'm supportive of it if we can get that darn bond issue down to 0.
May I just address the board, and that 5.5 million is an estimate.
I know.
And I'm agreeing with you, but there's a large amount of contingency in there. So there is room there that could just happen if the project is well managed. And,
I'm not disagreeing, but not to get an answer from LaBerge is outrageous. I believe Tom has asked them. They have not answered unless you've seen something recently that we have, because we haven't talked. But I bring it up publicly because it is a public issue. And you can go with the bond issue, you can go with the referendum without this stuff answered, but without me. And I live in Algonquin, and we would stand to benefit. I really want it for the residents who need it. And the purification, in all due respect, Dave, it's not, I don't think that's the long-term answer, because of the annual cost will exceed even doing your connection for $3,000 or $4,000 over a 10-year period.
Okay.
So that doesn't pay. That's one point. To Jude and Sand and Gravel, you know, you heard me say I've represented developers across the state. Gravel's needed, but there's a lot of questions on this proposal, and I know you're just really starting. You got to go to zoning board. My comments really about retroactivity don't apply here because you don't have an application pending. Okay, so that is irrelevant. It's a totally different ballgame with housing, and they have an application pending. But the issues that I have are, how many acres do you own in that area?
180.
180. So the 10-acre limit is on a per year. What's the 10-acre limit that we currently have?
I think it's 5 years.
5 years?
It's 5.
So you can develop, you can mine 10 acres over 5 years. In the next 5, you can do another 10. If you need reapproval,
Yep.
Okay. On and on and on. You got 180. That's a lot of land.
It's 40 acres is gravel.
40 acres, and I do appreciate the soccer field. My kids are long gone, but they played soccer, and having more soccer fields is good. So that's a positive. But to equate mining to housing, I'm sorry, they're just not the same. And the freight comes out in mining. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So over time, you could do 40 acres. I know it's up in the hill. You're putting a new road in right next to where that, I call it the haunted house that no longer exists. Tells me you own all that land, right? But that's in Sand Lake, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Do you have plans to work with Sand Lake on this too? Are you doing the same thing simultaneously?
If we get that far, coordinate review.
Okay. So 2 towns are impacted, and they haven't acted on anything either? Okay. They're at the same point with zoning board needs and so on?
Yep.
Okay. And I know about rumor, gossip, and suspicion in the real estate construction industry, so I'm appreciative of that. What I'm trying to tell you is there's issues. You got to go through Sand Lake. You got to deal with them. Who's going to go first?
It's going to be coordinated. Probably have common. We don't know yet.
You hope it's coordinated between the 2 towns.
Yeah.
Good luck. So I know you're minimizing the traffic issue on stop 13. I drive that road every day, but you need some sort of cautionary light or something, because you're going to be crossing stop 13 on a regular basis in those months. And you know as well as I, that road is slippery. And it's Sand Lake Road. It's not Poestenkill, so it's not DJ's problem. They don't maintain that part of the road as well as DJ does our part of Algonquin Road. And I think everyone would agree with that. So it's slippery. So cars running into trucks is not a pleasant visible that I'd like to see. So some sort of traffic safety action needs to be taken. And when you say you're going to be not doing anything further going down a road, besides building the new one up to the top of the hill, where the deer are now.
There'll still be deer.
Okay, there will be.
There's lots of deer in the corridor.
But looking at the map, basically from stop 13 down into your existing gravel, it's a cliff. Where are you going to put the road without impacting and building a new road?
We're just dumping it over the bank there.
Oh, you're dumping it.
We're just dumping it on our side.
Okay, it's on your land. So the trucks are going to be operating literally adjacent to stop 13 on a regular basis.
There's 150 feet of room there, maybe more. Yeah,
you know, when I go home, I'm gonna go and walk it. No, just not tonight, but tomorrow, because I don't think it's that much. So you're going to be dumping it. The traffic is going to be crossing stop 13 all day from January through April. 5 days a week, I'm assuming.
Whatever the board agrees to.
Okay. So my
And it can be 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
But there's
It
gonna be
doesn't have to
traffic
be-
crossing that
it
road
doesn't
with
have
big trucks.
Big trucks, probably 20 trips a day. I don't know what it is.
And right there, where the road's gonna be going and access is gonna be coming in, entry and access,
Up the hill and
where you're crossing at an area where there is kind of a hill.
Right, I'm just asking, are you talking about up the hill? Is it going north?
Once you're on your own road in the hill, that's your business and your problem, to be very blunt. I'm thinking about the public travelers and drivers on stop 13.
Right, just crossing.
Crossing, when your trucks are crossing. And if, you guys are very productive, you do a good job, but there's gonna be a number of trucks. So for the town board, I respectfully ask you to seriously consider the traffic issue, and that, may be part of zoning and planning before it even comes to you folks. But those are,
It's also part of seeker and DEC.
I understand that.
Site distances.
Yeah, we've been through mining in Algonquin Estates before, right across the road, which we killed. So I'm not making any final determinations in terms of what my position would be, but I wanted the board to hear some of the concerns of a resident that's just really learning about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Okay, we'll hold this for a second. Gentleman in green, you haven't spoken yet tonight.
Hi, my name is Cisco Carrick. I'm a resident in the Algonquin Estates area. Very familiar with that. I bike up that road all the time. My concern is those trucks have to get in there somehow. That road is not conducive to massive tonnage. The roads are in bad shape now. We've already got huge potholes in one of the areas. So those trucks are going to need maintenance. They're going to need gas. They're going to need all of these things.
They're going to do all that on where we are, over on our side. We're only crossing the road, getting material, bringing it back. At the end of the day, all equipment will be on our side.
Parked along the road.
Time, just.
Well, there's a cliff. So like we're trying to look at the logistics of that. At some point, the workers are going to have to get to those trucks. So if that all happens on that side, that makes sense, but we would like to you should have an idea of that now.
No, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Lee and Terry.
A comment, a softball, a hardball. The comment is that you, Supervisor Russell, are surrounded by financial competency here, and the general public is very much in support of your leadership here. I can just personally testify that everyone I talk to is happy with your leadership here. And I see that you've taken note this evening to take into consideration the excellent financial advice that you're getting from your board members. And here again, you're doing exactly what you did as the chairman of the planning board. You never just sat back and like as if you were the leader above all. Before you made any decisions, you always leaned forward and you consulted your adjacent board members. And I see you're still doing the same thing. So I want you to not beat yourself up over this. You have a terribly complicated job. I think none of us would really want it, but you will be taking advice from these individuals, and we support you for that. That's the comment. The softball is this. We're just coming out of this period now where we're all putting our snowblowers away and everything's fine. And then there's a time that's going to be coming in January or February of 2025 when the issue of clearing snow from the sidewalks is going to be an issue again in Poestenkill. And we will be grimacing about that and rubbing our chin and waiting for March to come around again. And hopefully that problem goes away. My request here is that sometime while we're in this warm weather period, can we please do something in conjunction with what our attorney, Mr. Gilchrist, had said? We have two options here. We can either put it off on the highway department, which seems unreasonable, or we can declare a sidewalk district and go through the process of putting it out for bid and get that done before the hard weather hits us again. And we're sitting there just kind of holding the ball on that. I will probably speak with you about this again, and it's certainly just a real back burner item, but let's just please give some consideration now while we got some breathing room. And we can probably get some pretty lucrative bids at this time of the year. The hardball item is that I've noticed that with almost, and I think it's absolute regularity now, that at the conclusion of town board meetings, they go into executive session. That used to be a relative rarity when there was some kind of a personal issue that was sensitive and didn't really deserve to be in the public's eyes. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it just seems to me as though this is becoming just a regular routine thing where people in the general public may garner the opinion that you're trying to conduct business that's not necessarily so personal and sensitive, but you want to just keep it to yourself and away from being open to the public. I hope I'm wrong about that. But I am bringing to our mutual attention that I see that every time a town board meeting concludes, it goes into executive session. I would like for there to not be suspicions raised. Thank you.
There are personnel reasons that we do go into executive session, and the business is not being conducted behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add something? With Andy in these meetings, he is such a stickler for doing things exactly right, that there would not be any chance of anything happening.
He's probably the best thing that's happened in this town in quite a while.
He's quite a stickler for that kind of thing, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you.
He is spot on. Spot on. Terry, please.
Okay, part 3. Sorry. Hello again, my name is Terry Jack Angel, I haven't changed it. I still live in Algonquin Estates. I'd like to address the gravel proposal. It's come up.
The gravel presentation.
Presentation proposal. Semantics. Anyway, they have brought the same proposal of it without the soccer fields to the board on previous occasions, and thankfully the board chose not even to what do you call it? I think entertain it. Yes. So I just know that in 2018, Tri-Sand and Gravel violated their rules and regulations, took land right next to South 13. They got like $500,000. They were fined by the state for $5,000. And it was just like, oh, don't do that again. So what's to say that they're not going to do the same? They're going to go, they say, oh, we're going to unload at the edge of the cliff, right? They had to reclaim all that land, plant trees. So now they're going to take them back down so that they can unload this gravel. I don't know if you've been over to Stop 13, but they had to build the berm back up, plant pine trees, and I have what that Andy was the lawyer on, what the legal, what the state decided and all. And also, there's been wells that have gone dry. There's blasting. I live, I don't know, it's maybe a mile and a half crow flies from there. When they blast, things shake on my mantle. God forbid I lived over on Winding Ridge. And these things, I see that they sent a notice to Sand Lake, had this on their website. It was about blasting today. That, I don't know, did the town get one of these, Mr. Clementi? I don't know. But if they did, it would be nice if the town posted this so that we would be advised if there was blasting, so I could take my wedgewood off. And it just seems like that. They're not very good stewards. If they give us a soccer field, it's land they already own. they'll take the tax deduction as a charitable contribution, and it's no skin off their back. But the people, my property values, I'll go straight to, I mean, between PFOA and the gravel pit, my house will be worth it. So just take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Oh, and if you want these, do you have?
Yeah, I'd like to see it, Terry. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Please, ma'am.
I guess I have two issues between the property that I own next to Schwartz that I've sold to them. So, and then I do have an issue with choice sand and gravel. I always have. And I just wanted to bring to your attention things that have happened that have been quieted down. And they've been hidden, they've been hushed, they've been, I lived on Algonquin Road across from Winding Ridge. And I had an artesian well, 40 gallons a minute, and it was down to a trickle because they were told to blast less. They only had 10 blasts a year. And they went over that, added more dynamite, and everybody lost their foundations, their wells, everything. So I went down to 0 on water. There was an incident where they blasted and they didn't stop the traffic that was coming up stop 13 and down stop 13, and a child luckily was not in the back seat of a car that got totally smashed. The rocks went right through the window. So these are things that I think nobody knows. They're kind of put to rest or paid off or however it is. But they did drill me a well. You know, I have to say that they replaced the well that was blown up. But there's things that you need to know that you don't know before you make a decision on zoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Next person, please. Greg?
Hi, Greg Patton, Cuyahoga Court. Obviously, I've not looked at the plan, the map, and thank you very much for coming in and showing it. So I can't address the specifics. Once again, I'm just going to speak very broadly. Yes, it is starting off small, but I think the board would have a very hard time once choice sand and gravel, if they did get approved. It's hard not to imagine that thing growing and growing and growing once they're in. So I really hope that if this does go to the next step, that you would think about that, because the board's been pretty consistent about, yeah, this isn't a large gravel starting up small, but it is a large mining operation company. You know, this isn't like one of those small things that we've also had in town. So I think that should be looked at. And something else I just want to reiterate what Phil said. I mean, again, this is going to be between two towns. The traffic really is on the Sand Lake side. And Phil's absolutely right about on stop 13. In those winter months, I have fishtailed down that. And you certainly wouldn't want to be fishtailing at the same time a truck was coming down off that hill, going across stop 13 to do the dump on the other side. And you know, again, that road, it's not DJ, it's someone else. That seems like that's something that you would want to avoid during those months. So I'm sure more information will come forward, which will provide more comment, but I just wanted to just go on record as saying that, again, once they're in, I think it would be very hard to prevent more of that land being extracted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next person, please. Stephen, please.
I think the town board would be wise to tell everyone that we have a very strict 10-acre policy for mining, and it's not a 300-acre or 140-acre mine. There's a reclamation process that is strictly followed, and we currently have 2 mines with basically no complaints, one of which most people drive past and don't know what's there. The world needs gravel, and God's not making any more of it. So if you want to talk about slippery roads and sanding and salting them, where do you think it comes from? You can haul it from out of town if you want. The truck's still coming through. So I'm
sure they'll be great stewards.
Next person, please. Please, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jackie Rogers. I live on Stop 13 Road. Today's blast shook my house. I gotta say, Dan, I don't know where you blasted today in the pit, but this was probably one of the worst ones for me in the last 2 years. It didn't just vibrate my floor, it shook. The wood stove shook. I mean, everything. And like I said, it hasn't been that bad in a long time. You were measuring at the house the impact, and you guys stopped doing that. I don't know why, but you no longer put out the meters to measure the impact. My house is old. It's 1850s, 1820s, 1850s. It sits on bedrock. I mean, the foundation sits. So when they blast, that rock shakes the entire house. All my pictures come off the walls upstairs. It's been going on for years. The issue I have is, again, this is going to expand. As you said before, when they were fined by the state for $50,000, they said they were going to build a house. That's how they got approval. Well, he never intended to build a home down there. When are you going to do it? 5 years, 10 years? Oh, I don't know. They took all the plans for the house was way at the end of the property. So they had to take all that gravel out to build the road to get to where they wanted to do the house that never occurred, which is going to happen the same here. Now, as he talks about building the road, and from the map, it's way in the back by the farmhouse is what I'm seeing. That's just all gravel that he's got to take out and make money on. So as he's building that road, he's going to be taking all that gravel along the way to build the road. So he's going to make a ton of money just getting the road back there. I'm against the mine. It's devalued my property. I keep asking them, why don't they just buy out the whole Stop 13 Road all the way? Because our property values have gone down. And I just don't, Dan's very cooperative, but I just don't believe what they say. They always say 1/10, but it's all about how much dirt they can get out. So as they're building that road, they're going to be taking all that dirt out. And the mines are nothing. It's all about profit. And that mine will expand. Because they've been in existence so long, once you give them a little bit, they're just going to get grandfathered in. Oh, we'll give them a little bit more. We'll give them a little bit more. And there's no stopping.
Thank you very much. Next person, please. Susan, please.
You know what? I came here, I was really just going to listen and look at the map. And in terms of the plan, although I also don't know the states, I'd really studied more to make any comment. The only reason I stood up was, I have to say, I'm very concerned that a member of the planning board, which you are.
I'm allowed to speak as a citizen.
I think that, I guess I have some concern that not.
I don't give up my right to speak.
Okay,
I
so.
didn't say I was on the planning board, but I'm not giving up my right to speak.
Wait, okay, can we please?
No, okay, I was just concerned because you had previously addressed us, giving a report for planning board, and the next thing I heard out of you, you didn't stand up and say, hey, I changed roles. You said, these guys are great stewards and they'll do a great job. That was a little disconcerting because, quite honestly, I didn't see anything that differentiated how you were speaking as not being a member of the planning board.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm refusing myself to become the planning board.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Next person, please. Okay.
I have one.
That ends tonight's public comment period.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know. It's because I'm just a citizen, that's why.
The next session of tonight's agenda we're moving into is the private attorney and client session. As soon as Andy comes back down. And David?
Oh, Tom, can I make one more statement? Please? I just wanted to say thank you to you for your civility and the way you conduct the town board meetings now. I'm very happy that you're here in this position.
You're way too kind, Carrie.
Oh, I know that.
Andy, thank you very much. Okay, we're now moving into the private attorney-client session portion of the meeting. I thank you all for your attendance.
Oh, my God.
I want to feel
We appreciate you all coming in tonight. Thank you very much for taking the time to stop in.